What's up, folks? Welcome back to Tactical Tortoise. My name is Trevi, and today we're talking about some incredibly sad news that just hit Warhammer community for fans of the Firstborn Space Marine line. A while ago, we talked about the removal of a bunch of classic SKUs from the Games Workshop website. These included the classic box Dreadnought kit and a bunch of other stuff that were parts of the classic Space Marine line. And that trend continues with this announcement today that a bunch of units will be being removed from the Games Workshop web store shortly. This is your last chance to purchase them, and the reason being is that they will no longer be supported in the 10th edition Space Marine Codex. They won't have data sheets, they won't have rules, and while the article does give you ways to reuse them, they're not going to have any official stat lines outside Warhammer Legends. Now, the article is quick to point out that not all Firstborn units are being removed. This isn't the Firstborn Space Marine culling that I think a lot of people have expected, where everything's going to be replaced by Primera Space Marines at some point. That so far has not yet happened, but this is another step in that direction. Tactical squads, Devastator squads, and Rhinos specifically have been called out as being retained as unique data sheets in the new 10th edition Codex. So what exactly is being removed? Well, the list is absolutely wild. Here's the comprehensive summary of the kits that are getting removed from the Games Workshop web store and will no longer be available in 10th edition. These include attack bikes, bike squads, scout bike squads, land speeder storms, the stalker and hunter anti-aircraft kit, the ironclad dreadnought, assault squads, company command squads, scouts, sniper scouts, the standard non-Primaris librarian, the tech marine kit, and the thunderfire cannon. Now, that said, the article does basically tacitly encourage you to proxy, saying that scout bikes can be proxied in for outriders. You'll probably just need to replace the base to update to the current base size. And assault squads are going to be able to be reused with Vanguard veterans, which are sticking around. In addition, the venerable dreadnought and dreadnought kits basically got rolled on into a single dreadnought profile, at least in the 10th edition index, and the article does specify that that is most likely going to remain the case. So things like ironclad dreadnoughts are probably still going to be available to be used using that data sheet. You'll probably just need to get creative with weapons and things like that, since I don't think all of the very unique weapons that the ironclad dreadnought has access to will be moved over. Now, that said, this is a huge blow to the Space Marine line. Some of these kits are classic, and to be fair, many of them are showing their age. The attack bike and bike squad are both very old and very venerable kits that use design ethos for Space Marines and design concepts that have not been used in decades. So I'm not that sad to see those models go the way of the dodo. The scout bikes and the entire scout line, however, is incredibly surprising. It's basically a full sub-theme within the Space Marine line. They had dedicated transports, they had fast attack options, and even with characters like Sergeant Tellian, they had a little bit of limited HQ support. And with the 10th edition index, basically rolling those into Phobos units and allowing your Phobos units to interact a lot with your scout infiltrating units, it actually made for a, basically full like Vanguard deploy army that was potentially constructible, and that is no longer going to be the case. The Stalker and Hunter were always a little bit weird. They never really saw a ton of play, largely because having a very specific role as being anti-fly didn't make them super good unless they ended up being undercosted in some particular metas, but it is sad to see them go because the kit does look cool. It is on a Rhino chassis basically, but it's very unique. It has a lot of unique pieces, and it does look very different from any of the other vehicles. And the Ironclad Dreadnought's the same way. I love this guy. This is probably one of my favorite Dreadnought designs. The armored look, all of the cool unique weaponry, siege weaponry that he can equip looks super awesome, and having that model go away is going to be sad. In fact, I'm kind of tempted to pick one up myself just to have one on the shelf. Not to mention, the Tech Marine and Thunderfire Cannon are going to be huge losses. Now, the Thunderfire Cannon was always a fine cast model, which made it really awkward to get a hold of. It was never very widely available, and reportedly was incredibly difficult to assemble, being basically impossible to put together in any way that didn't didn't require massive amounts of super glue. But it has been a mainstay of Space Marine armies for ages. Even back in the day when it was released in 3rd or 4th edition, this thing was a good horde clearer. In the 8th edition Space Marine Codex, it was played extremely widely, and even these days it's seeing some play for its suppressive fire effect, and that is going away. Now, to be fair, this does combat one of the biggest problems with the Space Marine Codex currently. It has so many data sheets that it's just bloating itself wildly. The index currently is significantly larger than any of the other indexes in the game, and I have to imagine that for the design team, it's also difficult to keep all of these different units separate. They have to come up with separate abilities and separate stat lines for every single one of them, despite the fact that most of them just fulfill the same role. Having assault squads and Vanguard veteran squads next to each other was always super weird, because one of them would always be strictly superior to the other one, despite the fact that they both fulfilled the exact same role. So now rolling all those options into a single set of options is going to make the Codex a lot easier to construct lists for and to design for. So I imagine that that's part of the arithmetic. These are also old kits that people have basically had their fill of. There's very few people going out and buying tons of attack bike squad kits, because the venerable players who already play them are most likely going to have all of the attack bikes that they need. And the secondary market is probably saturated with a lot of these kits as well, since they've been around for 10 or 20 years. So I can't imagine it makes particular fiscal sense for Games Workshop to keep producing them and weighing down their codex design in order to supply a market that's probably just buying them secondhand regardless. That said, it is an end of an era for these Space Marine kits. These are some of them that I remember coming out when I was growing up and when I was first getting started into miniature gaming, and there's a bit of nostalgia to see things like the Landspeeder Storm, which is one of, I think, the coolest looking kits in the Space Marine range. Just so much dynamism, so many interesting little accoutrements with that kit. Being able to model your scouts hanging off the side and shooting out of the doors is super cool. Kits like the Company Command Squad that has a lot of customizability with it, and even just the Tech Marine being an incredibly gorgeous Finecast model, all have a pretty dear place in my heart, and I think in the hearts of a lot of players. So watching them go the way of the dodo is very sad. That said, I think we're still going to see a lot of the models, specifically on tabletops like the article recommends, as proxies for their Primaris versions in the new kit. That Tech Marine can come in as a Primaris Tech Marine, for example. That Thunderfire Cannon might be a Fire Strike Servo Turret, and a lot of the characters or infantry squads can slot in for one another without really too much of a problem. Now, it's important to note as well that some of these may be being replaced. We did see the Tyranid previews from the Battle for Ogrim global event last week, and I discussed the incredibly gorgeous Tyranid models that were being revealed then. This announcement may very well be coming out ahead of a reveal of new Space Marine kits. So we could see either Primaris-sized versions of these kits or new incarnations of these unit archetypes in the new 10th edition Codex in the form of the new kits being revealed then. I have to imagine, though, that however it rolls out, basically all the new kits will be Primaris Marines. I don't think we're going to be seeing Firstborn Marines outside of select characters and very specific niches be rolled out again. So for fans of the Firstborn line, I do think this is going to be a significant blow. But let me know down in the comment section what you think about it. Let me know what kits you are sad to see go and what you're hoping for from the 10th edition Space Marine Codex. This was a huge announcement that I honestly didn't expect, so I think it's going to be hugely transformative to the Space Marine Codex. A lot of these units are units that are seeing tons of play in 10th edition in the index currently, and losing them is going to be huge. Specifically, all of the scout varieties are pretty playable. Attack bikes and bike squads are extremely good, especially when combined with the Primaris Chaplain, and having those be removed is a huge blow. But anyway, thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. Big thanks as well to everybody who supports the channel, either over on Patreon at patreon.com/TacticalTortoise, YouTube channel members, and Twitch subscribers. All you people are great, and I love you. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and happy wargaming.